Welcome to the Philthy Dad Pod sports podcast, a place where three washed up dads talk sports to the masses in between wiping asses. And tonight we have a full show for you as the fearsome threesome of fatherhood are all in studio. We got the Gibson boy rider, Derrick, in the building. D, how you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling good, man. It's great to have all three of us on here together to officially kick things off.
Yes.
Again, we're waiting on Tom, but I think it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, it's all good. I've been rocking a little solo dolo, but that's that's just me being impatient. I was very excited. We got this thing going. We've been having the little meetings we've had, the little talks that we've had, and I've been excited to get this thing going, and I just couldn't wait. I'm sorry. We had to get in here, start getting content, start building this audience, and just get it going. And like Dee said, Tom is on the way. He's gonna fly in here like Superman, and I cannot wait. My boy is gonna get here. But until then, we have a very special and a very important announcement to make right here live on the show. And that is that the trio will be live with you guys every single Sunday night and Thursday night from this point forward. Those time slots will be Sunday night beginning at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Thursday nights beginning at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. And the podcast, that's for the live show. The podcast will be released immediately after the live show is finished. And you can catch the live show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. And you can catch the podcast on all of your podcast streaming services and platforms. And do us a favor, please go ahead and like, follow, subscribe, and click the notification tab so that you don't miss any new content. We're going to put out a lot of stuff. You got three great. Listen, when we get together, it's like a podcast in real life, and that was part of the reason why we started this. The three of us get together, and we've been shit talking. What are you, D? You're about to be you're about to be 30. You're about to be 30. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on Front Street like that, but you got a birthday coming up on Wednesday, and Tom, I think Tom already turned 30, and I'm creeping up in March. And listen, we've been doing this back and forth with sports and just bullshitting about life in general for the last 25 plus years. And why not give it the shit that we come up with, the shit that we say? Why not give it to the world? Do you agree with me, D?
I agree 100%.
Good.
Like you were saying, when we all get together, it's always a good time, and usually a lot of arguments. So why not show the world a little inside of what we go through when we're together?
Of course. I love it. Listen, I want to jump right into it. I'm going to wait to get into the NFL stuff until Tom gets here because I know he has a lot of stuff he wants to talk about. But before he does get here, there's a little something we got going on next weekend. We got a golf tournament coming up, and a little more than a week away. It's going to be next Saturday, but we're a little more than a week away from our 4v4 golf outing on November 12th, in which you and I are going to be on teams. It's you and I. It's me, you, Chino, and Doug, and we're going up against Team Flynn and his cronies. And now the good people of this show, what they don't know about me and you is our abilities on that course. They don't know that low key we are scratch golfers who regularly shoot in the 70s at will. And that the only reason that we're not on the PGA or the Live Tour is because we're here making this podcast. And Tom, on the other hand, a little bit of a different story. He's going to be looking to ride the coattails of his teammates to a victory. And for real, D, it's up to me and you to shut that down and not let him get the dub because he's not going to let us live that down. My question to you is, how do you see next weekend going, bro?
Well, you already know where we're playing at is not one of the best courses in Philadelphia, Juniata. That's kind of my home course. That's where I shoot lights out at. So I think that we have a great shot at, beating them. And just like you said, Tom's going to be riding the coattails of his teammates, which, they're pretty decent golfers. But again, I think we definitely have what it takes to win. And I'm not going to give him the chance to win so he can come on this platform and talk his shit. So we're not going to do that. Again, like I said, I think we got what it takes. It is a Veterans Day tournament, so shout out to all the veterans. Veterans Day's coming up, so shout out to them. And yeah, I look forward to taking the dub, coming on here, and just saying, talking my shit to Tom, because they ain't winning.
No, and listen, it's funny because I already said our team, but on Tom's team we got he's playing with the dads. He's got my adoptive father and Ed. He got my father-in-law Ismar, and he got your father-in-law Edgar. And I want to introduce everybody to the two first names, really all three. Ed Ismar and Edgar. And the reason why I want to do that is because they golf, especially Ed and Ismar. You're going to hear their names a lot on here because me and Derrick, we got a battle. Before it was Ed and Ismar were teammates, and when me and Derrick were new to golf, and it was me and Derrick versus Ed and Ismar, and they would take advantage of us. They know that we are competitive, so it was always, hey guys, let's play, and loser buys lunch. And it was about, what was our record, like 0-20? How many lunches did we buy those two?
Probably a lot. Yeah, probably a lot.
So it carried over to where Ed and Ismar are partners, and we go up against them, and we have a little series going, and it was a best of 7, but we're just going to continue it out through the rest of this season at least. And we are actually down 4-1, but we came into the series, the first 3 games, we were losing by double digits, and then we got it down to, what was it, 5 to 8 strokes we were losing between. And then we beat them. We did. We beat their asses. We got them that one time. Then we came back. We lost.
It's so bad that we've gotten so much better at the game of golf that they're simply saying that we are getting lessons. And I mean, I need to get a lesson because I stink, but I have not gotten lessons. I just, play a lot, watch a lot of YouTube videos. I don't, I mean, and that's all I do. I just play a lot. And I think
I will be a testament to what Derrick is saying. He has been balling. And ladies and gentlemen, for the first time this season, I want to welcome LaThomas James Flynn. T Grizzly in the building. What's up, my guy?
What's up?
Same old. We were just going through, we announced it. We announced to everybody how our new schedule going forward, Thursdays and Sunday nights. We were talking about next weekend's golf tournament and how it's up to me and D. It's up to me and D to go ahead and really shut you down, because if we let you get out of there with a win, we're never going to hear the end of it. What do you feel going into the golf tournament next weekend? Are you gonna help your team, or are you gonna ride our father's coattails?
Probably ride the father's coattail. I'm being quite honest.
Hey, listen.
Dude. Listen, dude. Nate Sudfeld got a Super Bowl ring riding Nick Foles and Carson Wentz coattails, so I'll do the same thing.
So you're trying to be Nate Sudfeld. I respect it. Hey,
sure.
I'm glad to
listen, Tom, to compare yourself to Nate Sudfeld, that's a disgrace. I mean,
listen, dude, I'm the third. Maybe I'm a 4th string. Who am I? I don't even know who the 4th string quarterback for the Eagles is.
We'll just look. So we'll go ahead and say that Edgar can be Carson. Ed, or no, you know what? Ed will be Carson, since that's his last name. Edgar will be Foles. No. Ismar. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to get at. What I'm trying to get at is you're more like a Coy Detmer.
Edgar could be Mahomes. Then you got Josh Allen. I'll sit back and be like a Josh Rosen, dude. Calm down.
Hey, you got a big arm. Hey, listen, we were waiting for you to get in the NFL, but we haven't gotten through. There was something that I had mentioned to D earlier today. And it was this video that I had seen, and it's a video that's kind of going around, and it's the one video we're going to show on a clip today. But Ross Chastain in NASCAR, he made a wild move that wound up moving him into a position that qualified him for a championship race, and he set the record for the fastest lap on the track at 18.845 seconds. And it's funny because afterwards, he said that he learned the move playing NASCAR 2005 on a Nintendo GameCube when he was a kid. Check this, D. You didn't get to see this yet. I'm sure Tom's seen it. Check it out.
One more, man. 2 spots here.
So he comes around this turn and it's good, right? And here he's just going balls to the wall.
Yeah, I gotta get him. Need 2.
It's supposed to be turning right here, right? Nope.
Keep coming. Hang on, man. Checkered flag. Nice and easy.
That put him into, that qualified him for a championship race. It put him in, I forget, I don't watch too much NASCAR. I think they said it may have put him ahead of Denny Hamlin or whoever it was, but I think he jumped at least he jumped, was it 2 spots or 5 spots? I don't remember what the number was, but that move, that was a race winning move for him right there. That was what he needed to advance. And I'd mentioned it to you earlier. I wanted to make sure I showed it to you. Tom, you got something to say?
Yeah, we're talking about, riding coattails. He literally rode the guardrail. So
Like, I like
Yeah,
that.
that was crazy. Like that was like a high risk, high reward type thing. That was ballsy. I mean, right? Me and you've been to the Pocono 500 before, and
Bro.
for that, those cars are moving pretty fast. So for him to do
And
that is just crazy.
listen, anybody that knows me well knows that between I typically will tell people it's from my job, it's from plumbing. But I'm partially deaf in my right ear. I think I got maybe like 80% of my hearing there. And I'm still convinced it's from when Uncle Ricky took us to the NASCAR race and he gave us earplugs and we didn't want to put it in. Those cars are loud. It's funny because my boy Sam Miller's here and he said, I'm so glad you guys are talking about this. And he gave us a little insight. It gained him the 6 points he needed to qualify for that championship race. I know that Sam is excited. We're talking a little racing here. This was something that was also put in here for him. But let's get to it. Let's jump right into the NFL. Eagles versus Texans. And the Eagles jumped off last night. Eagles played last night. They got out to the first 8-0 start in franchise history with a 29-17 victory over the Houston Texans. And Jalen Hurts, I love this. He comes out after the game, and it's great that we're 8-0, but he says, we haven't accomplished anything yet. And it's obvious that this team is bought into Jalen as not only their quarterback, but their leader. My first question is going to go to D. What has been the most impressive part of this Eagles team so far this year?
I mean, you just said it. You hit it right on the nose. Jalen Hurts. I mean, this kid is crazy. Like he comes in, it's not only like the leadership quality. Like the leadership quality is great because obviously he's one of the best leaders, in that locker room. But it's just seeing the progression of him. Like every year he's getting better and better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just makes this team dangerous. I mean, defense is definitely stepped up. We got some linebackers, some more defensive linemen, but I think the difference is Jalen Hurts. And everybody can kind of downplay him, but I mean he's showing it. He's showing that he's one of the best in the league right now.
He is. I have him as a, and it could be because I'm Philly. Maybe you call me a homer. I have him in the top 3 of the MVP race. A lot of what people might look at the stats, and Josh Allen is balling out, and of course he deserves to be there. Lamar is doing his thing. There's a couple guys up there, but Jalen is a product of this team that just seems to, they're blowing teams out in the second quarter, and then the second half comes, and we have such a good defense to where Nick is kind of just pulling the reins back, and he's saying, hey, look, just go out there, stay healthy, and get through the end of this game. Who cares about the stats? Let's get out of here with a dub. And that's what he's been doing. And I couldn't be happier for this team. Tom, question for you, my boy. How far can this Eagles team go?
Well, it's going to be the same thing. How far and will they? The answer is yes. They're going to go all the way. And
are you calling your shot right here on our? I'm sorry.
On my. And I'm only saying this because I don't care what anybody says. Football games are won in the trenches. And the Eagles have a top 3 offensive line in football, which is letting Jalen Hurts do what he wants to do, whether it's escape the pocket or giving him time to look downfield. And not to mention, Miles Sanders is on the verge of having a career year.
Yeah.
Just in rushing alone.
Yeah, but that's if they can give him the ball. I mean, they haven't been giving him the ball that much. And you have one of the best offensive lines in the league. It's crazy not to see him get more touches.
That all comes down to the offensive coordinator. But at the end of the day, the game is won in the trenches, and offensive line and defensive line. I mean, missing Jordan Davis, clogging up the middle, but come playoffs, listen, the end goal is to win as many games as possible to get the number 1 seed now that there's only one bye week. The Eagles are on the verge of doing that. And surprisingly, and I didn't know this, and I found out that everybody's claiming that the Eagles have this easy schedule, nada. They have so far the 12th ranked hardest schedule this year so far, which is news to my ears. I didn't know that. And I'm assuming that's because of how them having to play the Cowboys again, having to play the Giants twice, still having to play the Packers, still having to play Tennessee. I mean, right now, I from the beginning, right now, NFC Championship game will be in Philadelphia again against them fucking people in purple and the Vikings.
You think so?
Whoa.
We were talking. Me and D talked about this the other day. Listen, I don't like the team. I don't like their number 1 fan, my boy J.O.B., but I got the Niners going to the NFC Championship with Philly.
You
don't like that one, do you?
I just don't have no faith in Jimmy G, dude, at all.
No, you don't.
We're not talking. I mean, Kirk isn't the greatest in the world, but I mean, he'll still be able to win you more games than Jimmy G will. I'm not saying the Niners can't. I'm not saying they can. I just think the Vikings are a better complete team.
I mean, listen, Vikings just added TJ Hawkinson. they
listen. This was all before the Niners added CMC too. So I mean, let him get meshing. I mean, what did he do? Didn't he just have a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown last game?
A triple crown
and a touchdown. Yes.
Yeah.
He threw one. He rushed for one. And
Debo's hurt. That's a big. I mean, Kittle needs to get going. Debo's hurt, but I mean, all them guys healthy, like you said. I mean, that team could be really scary.
So look at that. They both got decent defenses, right? They both got good defenses, but just look at the top four. You got, who are you taking? Are you taking Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, TJ Hawkinson, and Jefferson, or are you taking Jimmy G, Kittle, C-Mac, and Debo?
I mean, right now I'm taking TJ over Kittle only because of the year he's having, and he can stay healthy.
I just don't believe in Kirk at all.
I mean, they're. I mean, one's not really that much better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you take a CMC over Dalvin Cook healthy. I mean, as long as CMC can stay healthy and stay off the IR, who knows? And I mean, I'm probably taking Justin Jefferson over Debo. I mean, Justin Jefferson is probably clear cut the best wide receiver in football right now.
He hasn't scored since week 1.
Neither did Julio Jones, and he was one of the best. Just because you can't find zone doesn't mean.
I
mean, that's for you. I mean, that's on your quarterback too in the red zone. So.
Yeah, no, I feel you there.
But now you get DJ. Bet the red zone looks for Justin Jefferson go down, and you got Adam Thielen back, who's getting looks in the red zone. I mean, I don't know. It's just at the end of the day, the NFC Championship game will be hosted in the city of Philadelphia, and we will be heading to Arizona come February.
I like it. If we could have 2 teams in the championship in the same year, that would be a hell of a year for us Philly fans. Listen, the bye weeks this week are the Cleveland Browns, Dallas Cowboys, Denver Broncos, New York Giants, the Steelers, and those 49ers that we talked about. So you're not going to see any of those teams. That's big fantasy implications, right? None of those guys. You got some big names there that are going to be missing out of this year or out of this week, and we'll get into that a little bit later with D. But I want to get into the 1 o'clock window. We got the 4-3 Los Angeles Chargers at the 4-4 Atlanta Falcons, and LA comes into this game sitting at 4-3. Mention the records, sitting at 4-3, looking up at the Chiefs in the division, while the Falcons, who are 4-4, they sit at the top of the NFC South. And both teams have missed key playmakers due to injury this season. And I wrote this note, and it said could be without, but they are. The Chargers have officially ruled Keenan Allen and Mike Williams out. And then I didn't check the updated report. I will get that as you're responding. But AJ Terrell sat out this week with a hamstring injury. But it does look like Atlanta is going to be getting Cordero Patterson back. Tom, last time we seen this Chargers team, they got whooped by Geno Smith and the Seahawks. And coming off the bye week with both their top receivers hindered with injuries, can they go into Atlanta and grab a dub? And if so, how do they do it?
Well, let me start off. It's ironic that you picked me to talk about the Chargers. I mean, we're not going to go anywhere there.
I picked you.
Yes, they're going to go into Atlanta, and the Chargers are going to win, I think, easily.
Easily.
And that states with anytime you have Justin Herbert, I don't care. Atlanta's defense is horrific. They are probably, right now, honestly, their defense is ranked 31st out of 32 teams. They give up 307 passing yards a game. 307. And you have Justin Herbert. No Mike Williams, no Keenan Allen. So you're throwing it to DeAndre Carter. I don't even know.
Josh Palmer.
Guyton, is he even still there? I don't even know who their 4th, 5th stringer is.
Well, I need them to throw to Josh Palmer this week. I got him in both my leagues starting because Keenan is out, and I got Keenan on my squad.
Look for Austin Eckler to have another good game. That's it. Also, I'm going to give it to Justin Herbert. Surprisingly, doesn't get hit that much, although he did break a couple ribs. but just look for their offensive line to handle. I mean, they run a 3-4 defense. So, I mean, like I said, just look for Austin Eckler to have a great game. Justin Herbert's still going to go throw for 250 plus, throwing to guys that should be bagging groceries. Chargers win big.
Chargers win big. No surprise hearing that from you. And Atlanta, man,
Mark Mariota stinks.
Listen, they did listen. Atlanta should be what? They're 4-4. They should be 3-5. The football gods were on their side last weekend. But listen, they've been. You said what you said about Mariota, but they've been a little bit of a surprise this year. They're sitting at 500, and again, they're on top of the NFC South with Mariota at quarterback. But the offense really isn't the issue, like you said. That their defense. They just got torched by PJ Walker, Deontay Foreman, and the Panthers. And they were a bonehead penalty away and a couple piss poor kicks away from losing to the Panthers, who just traded away their best player and are trotting out their third string quarterback. Now, I think Atlanta's going to put up points in this one, but I agree with you. I think LA puts up more. I don't think that it's going to be LA winning big. I think this is just like last week. I think this is going to be a high scoring shootout. I don't have a score prediction, but we'll get them out later. I think this is going to be I think this is a game where if you have these two teams, you want somebody on their offense on your fantasy team. Moving on to Miami coming in at 5-3 at Chicago 3-5, and they're coming into this one looking to secure their second 3-game win streak of the year. Tua is back, and he's looking great with that offense and those weapons. And they just added Bradley Chubb, and they inked him to a 5-year, $110 million extension. Now, on the other side, Chicago is very active at the trade deadline, They moved on from Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn on defense, but they also added Chase Claypool on offense, and it looks like they're trying to build for the future while giving Fields those moves, moving those guys off of defense and getting Claypool. It looks like they're building for the future while giving Fields an upgrade at the wide receiver position to see if he could turn a corner and continue his great play as of late. Who wins this game and why? And I have two questions for you. Who wins this game and why? And with the addition of Chubb, are the Dolphins a true Super Bowl contender out of the AFC?
Let me answer the Dolphins. Are they a true contender? I don't think so. I don't think yet, because you still just have the Bills are a juggernaut. They're right now. I have Eagles, Bills, not in no order, but these are the juggernaut teams, like teams that will just go in and win week in and week out. Eagles, Bills, Chiefs. They can just win whenever they want. Is Miami in there? No, they're probably right under that tier because, again, their offense is explosive. Like, they have some of the fastest guys in the NFL. And until he's come along. I mean, he looks the part. He's not a game manager like a Kirk Cousins. He's pretty decent. So, I mean, I still got the Dolphins winning, but just because, like you said, the Bears, their defense is going to be depleted now. And you know what? I know the saying, defense wins championships, but if a game is 0-0, it's a tie. So you need offense to win a game. And, adding Claypool, I think that was a good move on Chicago's part, just to give Justin Fields, just to give him some weapons and try to get him going. Because, he's a young quarterback. He's still learning. And I think he has the tools to, be like a mid-level tier to, upper tier quarterback. But again, I think the Dolphins are just going to be too much for the Bears this week. And the Dolphins, I could see them probably making the AFC Championship game, just winning on a shocker, beating probably the Chiefs or beating the Bills.
Ooh. So I want to circle back to something that you said, and an additional question I had from you was, does the addition of Claypool give Fields enough weapons around him to make the jump that the guys like Tua and like we've seen Jalen Hurts make? Do you think he's going to make that jump?
No. I think they're still I think they need another receiver. Claypool is good, but I don't think he's, of the A.J. Brown caliber. He's Stephon Diggs. I don't think he's like that. Justin Jefferson. He's not up there. But again, I mean, remember when we were talking, I talked about the Dolphins. The only thing they were missing was a couple key pieces on the defense. And I guess their coaches, they had some type of psychic ability because a minute later they signed, they trade for Chubb. It was crazy.
It was funny. Me and D were at his house earlier this weekend. We were actually recording some content, and while we were talking, I swear to God, it was like to the second. I asked him a question about the Dolphins, and we were just talking about it, and he was like, if they are able to do something on defense, maybe. And I swear to God, within 30 seconds, I got the tweet that they had just traded for Chubb. And I want to jump into the comments real quick. We got Sean Maynard in, gave us a nice little love. My guys, we appreciate you, bro. And Terry Terrific is in. He said Bills over everyone and Josh over Jalen. Josh over Jalen. I mean, I love Jalen. I also do like Josh Allen very much. I'm not going to get into that today. That's a conversation for another day. But Terry, we're coming for you, bro. I want to move over to Carolina and Cincinnati. Both of these teams are coming off of horrible losses. Again, Carolina won the Atlanta game twice. They won the game twice just to have their kicker lose it for them both times, assisted by a bad penalty from DJ Moore. And Cincinnati got the shit beat out of them on Monday Night Football by the division and in-state rival Browns. And I was not expecting that. Now, look, I know that this team is going to struggle without Jamar Chase, but I was not expecting to turn on the TV, and it was like 25-0. Now, I was just, I was working on this. I wasn't really watching the game too much, and I tune in, and I'm like, dude, this game's already over. They got the shit beat out of them. And Carolina, look, they're in an obvious rebuild, but they got the young guys they're trying to prove themselves, and they're going to go out. They're going to fight each game. And the Bengals, they look like, again, they're going to struggle mightily without Jamar Chase. I'm not sure that they're going to really do too much damage without him. And my question is going to be to Tom. What do the Bengals have to do to get back to looking like the team that almost won the Super Bowl last year? Or is that team dead and gone?
I tell you one thing, and the Super Bowl hangover is the dead honest truth, because look at the Bengals and the Rams. I mean, both of them were. Whew. But getting back, I wouldn't say their season's over. I wouldn't say they still don't have a chance. I mean, I do think they will be in the playoffs. It all comes down to still the offensive line. I mean, getting Joe Burrows the protection needs. I mean, Jamar Chase is still going to be a huge loss, but they were still losing games with Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they picked up right where they left off. I don't know. You got to run the ball. Just pound the rock. Joe Mixon is great. Got to open up the field for Tyler Boyd. Open up the field for T. Higgins more. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, just a young head coach. He's just so pass happy.
Yeah.
Get back to ground and pound.
Go ahead, Dave.
Just got to get ground and pound.
Tom, you said that they were going to make the playoffs, right?
Yes.
The Bengals will make the playoffs. All right.
Yes.
So this is their remaining schedule. The Panthers. A win?
Yes.
Okay. They're at 5-4. The Steelers.
A win.
6-4. The Titans.
A win.
They're going to beat the Titans?
Yes.
I think that's when Jamar's coming back.
Against Tennessee?
Either Tennessee or the week after. He was out for 3 to 4 weeks.
So we have 7-4. The Chiefs.
They'll lose.
7-5. The Browns.
They'll beat the Browns.
All right. What do we got? We're at 8-5. The Buccaneers.
Who the hell knows? What Tom Brady showed up, dude? I mean, does he finally get over a broken heart, or?
All right, so just the Buccaneers.
They'll tie that game.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and say that the Bucs are gonna win that game.
The Bucs are gonna win, yeah.
All right, so that's 8. We're at 8-6. The Patriots.
They'll beat the Patriots.
9-6, and then you have the Bills and Ravens. They're not winning unless the Bills are already in, clinched home field advantage.
Well, they'll split with the Ravens. Lost to the Ravens already, right?
I believe they did, yes.
They'll split with the Ravens.
You think they're going to beat the Ravens?
Yes.
All right, so with a 10-7 record, yeah, okay, I can see it.
I don't think they're beating New England. I think that Bill's going to put the pressure on them. They don't listen. They addressed that offensive line in the offseason, and it's looking like this offseason they're going to have to address it again. They put 3 new starters in, and that line is still dog
Crazy.
doo-doo. That line is I mean, we're spoiled in Philly. We've had a great line for such a long time, and I couldn't imagine having an offensive line like that. That line is
the craziest thing is our second strings are our second line is better than their first line.
I agree.
I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if it's coaching or talent, but the Bengals offensive line is just terrible, and it's been terrible.
Yeah. So we have another division rival matchup here, and I got this one here, boys. I'm gonna take this one. We got Green Bay at 3-5, head into Detroit to play the Lions, who sit at 1-6. And D, you know, coming into the season, I was a believer in the Detroit Lions. I don't know why. I don't know who told me that was a good idea, but at this point, I've completely abandoned my beliefs in the Detroit Lions being a good football team. To start the year, again, I thought this team was going to bring the energy and win some games, and they showed me why you never believe in that Detroit football team. Their offense is great. They got the fourth best offensive attack in the league, and running back Jamal Williams is second in the league in rushing touchdowns, only behind Nick Chubb. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's been a sight for sore eyes in the Motor City, even though he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 2 against Washington. But that offense is rolling, and again, as I mentioned earlier, they trade. It's rolling, and they go and they take TJ Hawkinson, a tight end for the future, a young guy, and they send him in the division over to the Minnesota Vikings. I think that's going to hinder this offense, and it slows them down. And to be honest, I still don't understand the move. That offense was the only thing keeping them somewhat alive, because that defense is garbaggio. Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show this week, and he said that he felt like this week, like last week, leading up to the game and the game versus Buffalo was the best that the team had felt this year, but that they still had work to do and that they haven't put together a complete game yet. Well, this might be the chance to do that. This is the chance that they got to put that complete game together, because Detroit's defense, again, is shit. 32nd overall defense coming into this game. They're 30th against the run, and they're 27th against the pass. And I am going on. Listen, Derrick, you got the fantasy segment. Tom, you got the lock of the week, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of mix them both. I'm backing everybody named Aaron this week playing in Detroit. Rodgers and Aaron Jones are going to explode in this matchup, and I think that this is the get-right game for them. And if they win, they're going to inch closer to Minnesota in the division race, and they're going to keep themselves right in the thick of the NFC wildcard race, which is very tight there in the middle. But if they lose to this Lions team, bro, stick a fork in them. Give Aaron Rodgers more mushrooms. Give him whatever. Stick a fork in them, because they're going to be done. Well, I don't see them losing to this team. That defense in Detroit, everybody is putting up points on them. I mean, they haven't been able to stop a fucking nosebleed, let alone Rodgers. And I know that his receivers are down. He's missing Lazard. He's missing Cobb and whatnot. But I just don't see them slowing down Rodgers. He's been killing him his whole career, and I think that's gonna continue this year. Las Vegas.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Aaron Rodgers he just has never, even when he had help, he didn't always have everything that he needed in Green Bay.
Yeah. And
this might be the year that he ain't making the playoffs. I don't think he's going to make the playoffs. I'm
not going to fight against you there. Quick question. Here's a good one. Right on impromptu, right on the spot. Tom, you answer first. D, go second. Who, if one of these guys are going to miss the playoffs this year, who is it? Brady, Rodgers?
Rodgers.
Tom, what you think?
Rodgers, only because the NFC South isn't. I mean, Bucks can win the division at 10-7, 9-8. It seems like
Bucks are going to win that division. Las Vegas is traveling to Jackson.
With you, but I don't know what they're going to do in the playoffs, though. I mean,
nothing. They're going to do nothing. I'm hoping that they go. I'm hoping that the Eagles get their first round bye. I'm hoping that Tampa wins a wild card weekend, and I'm hoping that we get matched up somehow with the Bucks and we whoop their fucking asses, because we owe them one from last year. Vegas is going to travel to Jacksonville, and they're coming off of being shut out by the Saints 24-0. And Vegas, I hate your guts. We got your first round pick. All we need you to do is beat Andy Dalton and the Saints, we got the Saints first round pick. All we need you to do is beat Andy Dalton and the Saints, and you couldn't even score a goddamn point. Derek Carr was pulled from the game late, and that was because it was a little bit of a blowout. But I find it funny. They lose 24-0 to the Saints. And then after the game, he says that this felt like the kind of loss that is a good thing for the team. I don't understand that at all. Maybe it's like a motivation factor. I'm not too sure. But Devontae Adams from last week, he's on the side of the milk cartons in Vegas, and he's been missing since the October 23rd matchup when they played the Texans, and things are looking bleak in Vegas. And on the other side, this is crazy. All right. What I'm about to throw out here, I don't agree with. I don't know how the NFL lets this slide, but Jacksonville's returning home from London, and they do not get the post-London game bye week, which I think is an absolute joke. How are you going to send a team to London to play and then have them come back and play the very next week on Sunday? But this is the second time this has happened to Jacksonville in the last 9 years. You know, they're the team that's always going over to London, and this is the second time they're coming back. They're not getting that bye. Look, we went to Greece after the wedding, and I took a 10-hour flight. I don't know how long the flight is to London. I think it's a little bit shorter than that. Well, no, they're flying. No, maybe a little bit shorter. But it took me about a week, and I'm not a professional athlete. I got the body for it, of course, but I'm not a professional athlete. And it took me like a week, bro, to recover from a 10-hour flight there and a 10-hour flight back. And they got this team playing on Sunday. They're at such a disadvantage. And I think that's going to give Vegas a huge advantage. We'll see how that goes. But Josh Jacobs is fourth in the league with rushing, fourth in the league in rushing with 676 yards, 6 touchdowns. Travis Etienne on the other side is sixth in rushing with 571 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's only started in 3 games. Remember, he was sharing time with James Robinson, who is now a member of the Jets. But that backfield, he's exploded. That backfield is his for the foreseeable future. D, as the fantasy guru here for us, which running back is going to have the bigger fantasy game this one? Josh Jacobs or Travis Etienne?
Give me Josh Jacobs all day. The only reason why I'm saying Josh Jacobs is because if they didn't just come off of the loss that they just came off of, I would be taking Etienne and probably taking the Jaguars, but I'm going to take the Raiders here. And I'm going to take every offensive player on the Raiders, to just ball out this week. I think Carr is going to throw over for probably 275 yards. I think Devontae Adams has a big week. And I think Josh Jacobs is going to ball out. He'll probably have over 100 rushing yards and 2 TDs. Give me 2 TDs. I think this is going to be a shootout. Over-unders 48. It's going to go over that. I see like 54 points probably scored. Again, I think that the Raiders are just going to – because, I don't know if it was Derek Carr or David Carr last week, but I know that the better Derek Carr will be in Jacksonville this weekend. And, again, he had – like, we see it. He can throw it for a bunch of yards. And he just doesn't always make the best decisions. But I think this week, it was just like he said, it was a good loss for him. No loss is good in my eyes, like you said, especially when you're 2-5 and, you're trying to make the playoffs. So, again, I think that he's going to ball out this week because at this point, Derek Carr has been in the league for a little bit now, Yeah. He should definitely be progressing and making the playoffs. And I know he's in the AFC. It's a tough conference. But again, he should be making the playoffs more than he is. And I think this is the year where it's, fight or flight. Either he gets it together, or I think they're going to start looking in another direction. Especially with, contract years like Lamar Jackson and stuff coming up,
Yeah, it's looking like that for both their quarterback and their new head coach. I think they're both, if they don't make the playoffs, I think they're both gone at the end of the year. Now, listen, you said Jace. What the fuck did I call him Jace for? Josh.
Although, like I said, I like Josh Jacobs over Etienne. I think Etienne is trending in the right direction, especially getting more of a workload because him, splitting carries with Robinson. I think if you're able to, if your trade deadline didn't happen yet and you're still able to grab them and maybe, sell somebody that's been high, but you probably think it's going to kind of trend on a downward, I would definitely try to get Etienne.
Of course. Now, that was what I was about to get at is just because you had said that Josh Jacobs is going to have – that was just a question I had. I wanted to see where your mind is on those 2 running backs. But listen, I am not. If I got these two running backs, unless I have the likes of Christian McCaffrey or somebody above that just has to play, I'm not benching either one of these running backs. I think that they're both in line for a big game. They both have proven that they're worthy of a start. They're at this point right now, they're locked into an automatic start.
Right.
That's just my belief.
And again, the only reason why I'm picking Jacobs, he's averaging 17 points in fantasy a week. But I do think ETN, though, I think that he's going to be a better running back, especially in the PPR leagues.
Yeah.
I think he definitely can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's going to start to get going. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a high draft pick next year.
Yeah, I believe I'm right there with you that time.
He was a high draft pick in our one league, Ryan. We all clowned Rich for it, and he's like one of the best running backs in fantasy right now.
Yeah. You know who else was a high draft pick that we clowned? I think it was your other cousin took Rashad Penny. And he went down. He was looking good, but he went down and
Rashad Penny, wasn't that Riley that picked Rashad Penny? He kept saying he's going to lead the league in rushing yards.
Yeah. But what's crazy is I think he had the right, you know, he was looking in the right direction. He just picked the wrong running back because it's Kenneth Walker the third over there. Tom, while I got you, bro. Indianapolis.
Hold on 1 second.
Go ahead.
So coming back to what you said, the London games and the bye weeks, as I was looking into it. Well, I was just, before I got a text message, I was looking into the Seahawks-Buccaneers game, realizing that because next week I know they play in Germany, and I was looking at week 11, and they do have both teams have a bye week 11. But then I got a text message from Mr. Sean Maynard saying that when you play overseas in London, the team actually gets to pick whether they want the bye week the next week or not.
So this falls on the old Dougie P.
Yeah.
All right. If I love Dougie P as a coach, but if he went and decided and opted against the bye week, I don't got no words for that. That's a good stat. Thank you, Sean, man.
I would have never knew that until I got that text message, because like what you said, I was looking at the game next week, and the following week they're both on a bye. So
yeah, they should be. It should just be an automatic bye. I want to jump into, and I'm only going to ask you this question on one side because on the other side, our special guest is going to wind up talking about his team. But we got the Indianapolis Colts at the New England Patriots, and both teams are coming into this game needing a dub to either send their season in the right direction in the case of Indy, or to keep ascending in the right direction in the case of the Pats. The Pats have won 3 of their last 4 games, but they still find themselves sitting in last place of the AFC East, to where the Colts, look, they're in second place in the AFC South, but they're going the wrong way. They benched Matt Ryan, who they just paid back like 3 straight years. Ever since Andrew Luck left, they had your boy Phillip Rivers. He did them 1 year and was gone. Then they traded a first-round pick for Carson. He's gone. Then they trade for Matt Ryan. He's gone. And they just look like they're just lost. Like they don't know what to do. But Matt Ryan did get benched in favor of rookie quarterback Sam Ehlinger, who looks like he at least has the rest of the season to try to prove to Indy that he could be their quarterback of the future. And my question is going to be, how do you view Sam Ehlinger? Does he have a future in this league? Does he have a future with Indy?
No. Well, Indianapolis at this point should have just kept Jacoby Brissett at this point.
I do like Brissett.
But I do not. I do think at this point the Colts are better off just playing and drafting a quarterback. I mean, this draft is stacked with quarterbacks. Sam Ehlinger, listen, he played against Washington. He managed the game well last week. He didn't turn the ball over. He just needs to do the same exact thing against New England. But now, my opinion on New England with this game is he could have a good game, but when you have Mac Jones throwing for New England, you always have a chance to win the game.
I will go on the opposite side, and I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Sam Ehlinger has a decent shot. He looks like he at least has the intangibles. He's aware of what's going on. But one thing I will never, ever in my life do, I will never side with a rookie quarterback going up against Bill. Bill just finds a way to violate rookie quarterbacks. And I think he's going to do it again. They don't have an offense there. They went and fired whoever that no-name coordinator that let's be real, we know Frank Reich is running stuff there. They've looked bland since we stole Nick Sirianni from them, and they're not moving. The defense, though, on the defensive side, me and D talked about it earlier this week, and then again, I listened to the Pat McAfee show, and they highlighted it. Shaq Leonard came back, and it looks like they're trying to figure out a way to get him on the field, and a lot of that is because, me and Derrick went to Franklin Learner Center. FLC was our high school, and it doesn't show up in Wikipedia, but former FLC alumni was on a baseball team with us. Zaire Franklin, the middle linebacker for them. He's the captain. He wears a C on his chest. He is balling. I think that kid is going to wind up being – look, I think he's going to wind up being one of the best linebackers in the league in just maybe this year, maybe next year. But that kid is a leader. He came in out of Syracuse. He started off as a special teams guy, couldn't really get on the field too much, worked his way up to a captain, up to a starter. He really started to show what he could do last year and this year. And like I said to D earlier in the week, everything that he does, everything that he's gotten to this point, the opportunities that he's gotten, he's worked his ass for. The kid went through when we were in school, he went through some tough stuff, and he's a great person. His community work in not only in Indianapolis but back home in Philly is second to none. He's gonna. I said it to D. He's gonna win. I think he's gonna be one of those guys that are gonna go ahead and win a Walter Payton Man of the Year award. All he does is just he works in the community and he balls on the field, and he's a great leader on that team. I look forward to continue watching Zaire ball out. I wish him nothing but the best of success, and that's my guy. That's my guy. But I know we got Scary Terry Ballard in the comments, and now it's time to talk about his team, the Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets, and the juggernaut known as the Buffalo Bills. They're coming into this game with the number one offense in the league, and they just added Naeem Hines from Indy. While on the other side, the Jets are entering this one fresh off of a loss that snapped a 4-game win streak for them, which was surprising, and one in which quarterback Zach Wilson looked like absolute dog shit. All right. Who did they play? They played the Patriots. And Zach Wilson's not a rookie quarterback, and Bill still made him look silly. Buffalo is going to be on point in this one as they're looking to avoid starting 0-2 in the AFC East this year. They took that loss to Miami earlier in the year. And the Jets are staring at a 2-game losing streak unless they can somehow slow down the high-powered and retooled Buffalo offense. They need that paired with maybe a couple of Cougars in the stand to get Zach Wilson back on his game. And I don't see it happening. Buffalo is a unit. I think that as a Philly fan, I will not come at anybody that will go ahead and say that. Anyone saying that Buffalo is the best team in the league, I'm not going to argue you, because for me, it's 1A, 1B between Buffalo and Philly. Philly gets a lot of credit because we're still undefeated, but Buffalo is that team. Look at what they're doing. The injuries they have on defense. They are missing Trey Edmonds, Jordan Poyer, Matt Milano, Von Miller. All these guys are showing up on the injury report. They're still missing Trey White, who they did just activate, but I don't think he's going to play just yet. But they could get him back at any time. And Micah Hyde has been done for the season. And they're still – the defense is still, they're the third, at least fantasy-wise, and I know because I got them in every league. I draft them in the 8th round. I always draft a defense in the 8th round. Everybody always laughs at me like it's crazy, but I always get a top 3 defense, and it always helps me. Buffalo is the 3rd-ranked fantasy defense, and they're missing all these big names, and these guys just keep showing up on the injury report, and they're still continuing to just ball out. D, is Buffalo the best team in the NFL? 1, and 2, what can the Jets do to pull out the upset dub at home?
So are the Bills the best team in the NFL? Yes.
Okay.
And the reason why I say this is just they have a complete team. Buffalo's always been known for their defense. They've lacked the offensive side, and Josh Allen just these past couple of years has showed that they're a serious team. And right now, if you put Buffalo and the Eagles on a field right now, a neutral field, even though it would probably be 50-50 because the fans are both crazy as shit. I would probably take the Bills. I would definitely take the Bills slightly over the Eagles again, because I think that they are, just like you said, it's 1A, 1B. I would definitely put them 1A and the Eagles, 1B. But the Bills, that's an electrifying team.
Yes.
Like they just their team is just even like I'm not a fan, but if I turn on a Bills game, I'm just entertained.
Yeah.
I'm just truly entertained by this team. They're amazing. And the only way the Jets could probably win is if they just don't show up to the game, because it's a waste of their time. Because they don't have a shot in hell. Because I'm guaranteeing you, there's more Buffalo fans at that game than the Jets. Because I mean, we've been to a Jets game when we were playing them last year.
Yep.
There was more Eagles fans than Jets fans. So I do assume that Bills Mafia is going to show out. Hide your fucking tables, because they're definitely going to ball out. And
I mean,
they're going to win by probably 30 because the Jets they just don't have a shot up against the Bills.
I hear you. Minnesota is traveling to Washington, and for the first time, Kirk Cousins is heading back to the place where his very mid-tier career took off, as the 6-1 Vikings are taking on the 4-4 3-game win streak and surging Washington Commanders, led by Taylor Heineke. Scary Terry is alive and well with the return of his favorite quarterback, and the Commanders could be trending in the right direction as, once again, they've won 3 straight, piggybacked by the news that shithole owner Dan Snyder is finally looking like he's moving towards selling the team. And then on the other side, the Vikings, they're looking like one of the surprise teams of the year, and they've looked great outside of their week 2 matchup versus Philly. I mentioned earlier that Jay Jetta hasn't seen the end zone since week 1 when he had 2 touchdowns versus the Packers. Tom, are the Vikings for real? And part 2, when Carson does come back from his finger injury, was it his finger injury? Does he get a starting spot back, or does that belong to Taylor Heineke now?
Well, let's piggyback. What did regulation? I don't 100% remember. What did Washington trade Indy for Carson Wentz?
Second rounder, maybe. Nothing much. Go ahead, I'll get it. You keep going with your point. I'll get you the stat there.
I mean, I'm not 100% positive what they traded. So hypothetically speaking, if they were to trade a first round pick for him, Carson Wentz is a starter coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, they would look bad trading that and not starting him because he broke his hand on. I don't know if that was that great block that he broke his hand on or what he broke his hand on.
The Colts sent Carson in a second round pick in the 2022 draft to Washington, and they got back a 2022 second and a third round selection and a conditional 2023 draft pick.
Listen, if Washington keeps winning, you keep Heineke in there. There's no question about it.
I agree.
No question. Back on the bench where he belongs.
I'm rocking. I'm done with Carson. I was a big fan and I've always defended him, but I'm done with him.
It's so sad to see somebody decline like that, because he had it, but he's like on that RG3 status right now. Like ever since he got hurt, it's just downhill.
Yeah, it was sad. It was sad. And then I remembered that he quit on us. And
yeah,
fuck him. D.
Vikings being contenders though. Like I said, I think they're going to the NFL game, and that's because of favorable matchups that are going to be in Minnesota.
Okay. D, does Justin Jefferson get a touchdown this week? 1. 2, who shines bigger, Jay Jetta, Scary Terry?
I don't know what's going on with Justin Jefferson right now. I don't know if he's being double teamed or he just can't get it going. Again, they just added Hawkinson. I'm assuming he's going to start. Maybe get a couple snaps, so he'll take some of the pressure off of Jay Jeff. So I do see him getting in the end zone. But give me Scary Terry this week over him. I mean, him and Heineke just had that connection, that quarterback wide receiver connection.
Mm-hmm.
And though I'm telling you, the Commanders are going to be up for this game. Not only their offense, but their defense. Their defense is going to be all over Kirk Cousins, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pull out the upset against the Vikings.
Yeah. Sean Maynard, my guy in the comments, said no Ravens love. They play Monday night, and we have a show Sunday night. You're going to get a whole 30-minute segment to yourself, brother. You just got to stay patient. Listen, we are coming up on the last 30 to 40 minutes of the show. We're going to kick it into hyperdrive. This is I would love to stay with you guys for 3 hours, but I got me a hot date at the Cheesecake Factory tonight.
Nice.
Yes, sir. But I want to jump into the late window real quick. I want to get through these 3 games, and then I'm gonna kind of reorder things. We were gonna roll into NBA, but we just got talking about the NFL, man. And I got my guest here. He's ready to come in. He's ready to talk a little NFL. He's ready to talk some NCAA. Let's get through this late window and let's get our guest in here, and then he could stay with us for the NBA talk because I know he has some insight on Kyrie and he got some feelings on Kyrie. Maybe we can get him to share, and I'm excited for that. But look, the late window is going to start with Seattle at Arizona, and Geno Smith has the Seahawks sitting at 5-3 and on top of the NFC West. Who saw that coming? Not me, not you, not Ellie, not Tom, not nobody.
Not Russell.
Go ahead. Nobody's seen. You got those 3 teams. You got the Super Bowl winning Rams. You got the Cardinals and Kyler, and then you got the 49ers, and somehow the Seattle Seahawks, who traded Russ away, are the ones leading the division. But Kyler Murray, he's more focused on playing Call of Duty, and his team's sitting at 3-5. And the last time these two met, it was Seattle getting a dub, 19-9, and they haven't lost a game since. They're on a 3-game winning streak. October has belonged to the Seattle Seahawks as they finished the month with a 4-1 record. They played 5 games in October. They finished 4-1, and they got some hardware from October. Quarterback Geno Smith won the NFC Offensive Player of the Month. Kenneth Walker III won the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Month, and defensive cornerback Tariq Woolen won the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Month. They are rolling into November, but Arizona did get Nuke back, and he's been dynamic since his return. In 2 games, he has 22 catches, 262 yards, and 1 spectacular touchdown. This is a get-right opportunity for the Cards, and as much as I just pumped the Seattle Seahawks up, and I kind of killed the Cardinals a little bit, I do think this is a get-right opportunity, and I think that they're going to lay the smackdown on the Hawks. And they're home, and I just think they're going to get it. And in very Arizona Cardinal fashion, they will give their fan base just enough hope to reel them back in before crushing their dreams again in a few games and losing a game they have no business losing. D, which fantasy player would you want for the rest of the season if both were guaranteed to stay healthy? Do you want DeAndre Hopkins, or would you take Kenneth Walker III? No injuries, no PED suspensions. Who are you taking for the rest of the year?
All right, so give me Kenneth Walker III. And this is simply because of the workload. He's going to touch the ball more than D-Hop. Although I think D-Hop is going to just go on a tear just to prove to the NFL that he doesn't need bang energy drinks. He doesn't need PEDs. He doesn't need steroids. He doesn't need vitamins. He just does what he does. But just simply because, I watched Kenneth Walker a little bit in Michigan State, and, he balled out there, and now he's going to get way more touches. I got to go with, the more workload. Depending on how it goes with the red zone touches, I would probably go more towards D-Hop, but I think Kenneth Walker is gonna ball out.
Okay, I got no arguments there. I do think D-Hop is going to be a top 5 receiver leading the rest of the year, but I also think that Walker is going to be a top 5 running back. The Rams. This is a game that both teams need this, but the Rams are traveling to Tampa, and in an NFC playoff rematch, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks they're going up against Stafford and the Rams, and both teams are reeling. Both teams don't really look like themselves, and they both need a win to salvage some midseason dignity. The loser of this game is going to drop further in the NFC playoff race, but it might not affect the Bucks as much because of how weak that their division is. So it almost becomes a must-win for the Rams, not so much for the Bucks. And running back Cam Akers is back at practice this week, and he's actually denied that he's asked for a trade. So a little bit of a weird story, but Cooper Kupp is looking like he's going to play in this one for LA, and I think Brady's back at practice. He might still be out dealing with some shit. He might still be out screaming at his offensive line, but we don't know. This is a game in which both teams need to win this. And Tom, you argued with me for years before Brady went and won 3 or 4 more Super Bowls. We had the arguments of Brady versus Manning, and you've been saying for years that Tom is the GOAT, and I want to know, can the GOAT turn the season around?
It's going to be tough.
Whoa.
I do like that. Listen, and I'll be for the past 2 years before the season started, Derrick for the past 2 years that says this is the year Brady declines. He goes and wins a Super Bowl. Last year, had another great year. He says it again this year. I said, Derrick, he's 46 years old. Eventually, you're gonna be right here.
I think I'm right this year.
But play-wise, I mean, he has such a great offense. I mean, you have Chris Godwin, you have Mike Evans, you have Lenny Fournette, you have a good offensive line. I mean, even though he's screaming at these guys, he's holding on to the ball way too long. Me personally thinks that it's all has to do with Giselle. His mind's not in the game. His mind's not going to be in the game. And I don't know what he's worrying about personally, but that's the biggest issue to me. I mean, when have we ever seen Brady play this bad? I mean, it's not like he went from he didn't go from declining a little bit. He went from being up top to a straight dive down.
Yeah.
I mean, for a quarterback like that, it's just personally there's something wrong with him, and he needs to get his head out of his ass, stop worrying about personal matters. If personal matters are bothering him, then step away from football, just like my man Lane Johnson did to get his head right. Came back, best right tackle in football, not even arguable. And, I mean, Brady's got to do the same thing. Like you said, the NFC South is not – I mean, there's still tough teams, but it's not like a division where – I mean, Brady can afford. I mean, nobody can afford to lose games, but if anybody can afford to somewhat lose games, they can afford to lose another game or two.
Yep, I agree.
If you were married to Giselle, would you choose Giselle or football?
Oh, Giselle.
Tom, don't answer. Brianna is watching. Nah, D, real quick. See if we can get this one in quick. What's wrong with the Rams?
They stink.
Yeah, don't let Tone hear me.
That's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear. Shout out my cousin Tone. Tone, love you, boy.
We're on a time restraint, so that I'm just gonna keep it nice and simple. The Rams stink. They stink, just like Tom said, Super Bowl hangover, whatever. They're just a terrible team. They just stink. Maybe they need Odell back. Who knows? Maybe.
This is going to be the only show where we have a time restraint. Other than that, we're going to be with you guys for a long, long time. Sunday Night Football, we got the Tennessee Titans traveling to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. And rookie quarterback Malik Willis got his first career NFL start last weekend, and he was playing against the Texans. So he was able to hide behind King Henry, put up 17 points, and still win the game. That will not be the case this week as they go to Arrowhead to take on Mahomes and the Chiefs. The number 2 offense in this league just added Kadarius Toney, who Travis Kelce called an absolute beast. And the Chiefs are looking more dangerous than ever, despite losing Tyreek Hill. You got to think that Malik is going to have to throw the ball more than 14 times like he did last week in this one, and that's going to play right into the Chiefs' hands, in my opinion. I think that this could turn into another primetime lopsided snooze fest unless King Henry can have the game of his life, which is, as we know, is never out of the question. T Grizzly, who's the better quarterback right now? Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen?
I mean, I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes.
Ooh. And the consensus would be Josh Allen, so it's interesting to hear that. Why?
Listen, Josh Allen's unreal. The guy's he's a freak. It's insane. But I'm going with the guy that can win in a bullshit overtime rule playoff game, and that's already won a Super Bowl.
I like it.
I mean, if you ask me, if Josh Allen looks in the mirror, he probably sees Patrick Mahomes. Just because they're
100%, dude.
Because if you look at their yards, Josh Allen has 2,198. Patrick Mahomes has 2,159. If you look at their TD to interception ratio, Josh Allen has 19-6, and Patrick Mahomes has 20-5. I mean,
it's identical. Listen, if Joe Montana and Tom Brady were to have a kid, they would have twins, and it'd be Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen.
I like that. D, kind of to piggyback off what you're looking at these two quarterbacks, and they're so evenly matched with each other. Can the Chiefs chase down and eventually pass the Bills this year in the regular season? I'm not talking playoffs. I'm talking in the hunt for that 1 seed.
Still give me the Bills just by a slight hair, just because I believe they have a better defense than the Chiefs, especially when everybody gets back. Their defense is going to be, just unbelievable. So just still give me the Bills. I don't think the Chiefs can pass them anything happens in the playoffs. So I'm not saying that the Chiefs can't go in and beat the Bills, but on the field, give me the Bills right now. Because again, they're just more of a complete team to me. So I would definitely take I would still take the Bills over. But looking at the other side of the ball, Willis is in for a long night. Malik Willis is in for a long night. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he throws 3 interceptions. Because Arrowhead will be rocking. They will be rocking.
Listen, load the box. That's all you got to do. Don't let Derrick Henry do anything, and try to let Malik Hill out past Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's just idiotic.
You can load the box. They can let the Chiefs go ahead and put 22 guys on defense, right? You're still not going to stop Derrick Henry. He's going to get his. Last week he had, what was it? We talked about it. 219 yards on the ground. 190 of it was after contact. After contact. That's wild. All right. So look, that wraps up our preview to week 9, the rest of the games. We do have one last game. It's going to be the Ravens and the Saints. That's a Monday Night Football game. We have a Sunday night show. So Sean and my guys that are all Ravens fans, not Justin, he's a Commanders fan, but this is a little way to reel you back in and get you watching on Sunday too. But 2 more things real quick, and then we're going to get to our surprise guest. Tom Flynn, lock of the week. Give me something, Tom. What's our lock of the week?
So I feel bad for Derrick because it might fuck up Derrick's prediction, but the Bills minus 11.5 is a lock of the week. The Bills may win by 20-plus points. I'm not saying the Jets aren't a somewhat good football team, but they're not ready for Buffalo. And this, like he said, it's a 5-hour drive from Buffalo to the Meadowlands. That place is going to have Bills Mafia, and they're going to have legit fans that can jump through tables, unlike Anthony Arce, who can halfway jump through a table.
Hey, that table was on fire. The table was on fire. I give him credit. I've shit on Arce enough. I'm not going to go ahead and do it here. D, give me some Gibson's Corner fantasy advice for this week.
All right, so I'm just going to give you one, not really a sleeper, but one person that you should start this week. Give me Lenny Fournette. I think he goes berserk this week.
I will welcome that with open arms because he's another player that I have on my team that I need to do something. All right. That was fun. We got to talk some NFL, and I do have one more NFL question, but it's neither for you. It's not for either of you. And then we got a little bit of NCAA. And with that, I want to welcome in our first ever, if you can't hear it, this is a drum roll, our first ever guest on the Philthy Dad Pod Sport Podcast, Sir Christopher Ellison. What's up, my guy?
What's up, guys?
Hey.
How's everybody doing?
Hey, good. Listen, real quick, before we get into it, I would love to welcome you to the podcast. Again, you're gonna go down. This podcast is gonna fucking be major, I promise you. And you're gonna go down as the first guest in history. That's an honor, and I'm honored to have you here.
Well, I'm honored to be the first guest. Appreciate it.
Thank you. But that is not the only thing I want to welcome you to. I want to welcome my boy Ellie to fatherhood because he recently. Yes, let's give it up. He recently, with his wife, welcomed in a little boy, a little Hurricanes fan. And my first question I want to lead off with is, fuck the sports. How's fatherhood treating you?
Man, it's great. I enjoy every minute of it. It's tiresome, exhausting. Yes. Everything they say it is, but I'm loving every minute, man. He's growing fast. He looks completely different from the day we brought him home. It's just watching him change and grow every day it's just a blessing.
It is. And we have some kids on this podcast here. We got 4 in this corner. We got 2 over there. We got 1 down there, and then you got 1. So I'm sorry, we got 3 down. Dude, there's a lot of kids floating around in this podcast right now. I just want to say they grow so fast. Don't take nothing for granted, and don't blink. Don't blink, because before you know it, they're gonna be 6. And they're going to be driving you up a wall. I have a 10-year-old, 2 6-year-olds, and a almost 2-year-old. And there's a reason why I got bags under my eyes and I'm always tired. And it's not because of my job. And it's not because of this podcast.
I was saying this the other day. he's almost 3 months, and it feels like yesterday we were in the hospital. So
Yeah.
I hear you on that. I'm not 6 years down the road like you, 10 years down the road, but it is flying by. So I'm trying to enjoy every minute I can and slow everything down as much as possible.
Of course, enjoy this, bro. Listen,
Yes.
I would love to talk to you about our kids all day, but we got business, and I am saving this for you. We are going to visit before we go to college football, and you are going to lead our college football segment. So before we get to that, I got a question. Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones, who do you want, and who does New England want? Give me some talk. Who is the quarterback of the future, Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones?
Well, first I want to say what up, Chuck, if he's listening. He's probably going to get all
Chuck?
pissy. He's going to get all pissy. Honestly, I want whoever is the best fit for this offense. The offense is just garbage all around. I'm not a believer in Mac Jones, never was a believer in Mac Jones. It was really enjoyable watching him get benched, though I don't think he should have been yanked so early. It was only three drives in, but he just continues to show people why my point of him not being the guy. He played at Alabama. He had all those first round draft picks around him. Like he didn't elevate Alabama. Alabama elevated him, and he was a bench warmer for 3 of those 4 years that he was there at Alabama, behind Jalen Hurts, behind Tua. So 1 year he had a good sample size there, doing what he did, won a national championship. But it wasn't because of him; it was because of that defense and the receivers around him. But if I'm, like I said, for it, whoever's the best fit, I like Zappi. I think the offense kind of gets a little energy when he's behind center. Although he did have a really rough outing when he came in after those first 2 touchdown drives against the Bears. So, the offense just sucks. Whoever fits better for this season, let's do it. But we got to go get it. The Patriots have to address the quarterback situation. It's just not good.
Okay, so you said that you want who's best for this offense, and I'm just gonna double down. Who is Ellie's pick for quarterback? I'm painting you into a corner, bro. I want this on record. Who is Ellie's pick for quarterback of the New England Patriots?
I mean, I think Zappi has more mobility, and with the offense not being as good as it is, you need some more of that. He is a rookie, so there's a lot of risk with him out there running around. But I would go with him. He's a gunslinger. He broke Joe Burrow's records in college for most touchdowns in a single season. He threw for almost 6,000 yards or something like that at a small school. And we can knock it being a small school, but that's where Jimmy G came from. He came from Eastern Illinois in a small school, and he lit it up when he was a Patriot. And he's gone to what? One Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls.
Was a backup, but
he may be average, but to people, but he's been productive as an average quarterback in the NFL. I don't see that out of Mac Jones, who won a national championship, but I don't, Zappi's a wild card. Go ride it out and have some fun this year, and then let's just get a new quarterback.
I hear you, and I agree. I want you guys to keep them both and just keep rocking with them for the next 10 years.
I know everybody wants the Patriots to suck for forever, but I don't want them to suck forever. I as much as I'm reveling in feeling that I'm right about Mac Jones, I don't like it because that means my team sucks. And but it is fun to kind of revel in that piece there a little bit.
All right, so the main reason we brought you in here is you are the college football guy. All right, I know you watch more college football than a lot of people I know, and I want to get your thoughts on the initial college football rankings that were released this week. For the life of me, I swear that I've seen Tennessee being revealed as number 1, and I haven't been able to find that. I think that I'm wrong because everywhere I look up, it's got UGA as number 1.
No, you're right. Tennessee is number 1 in the college football rankings. So there's the AP, there's the coaches poll. There's 1,000 different polls, but on Tuesday night they dropped their first college football playoff rankings. It's like their version of the BCS rankings that they used to have in the past. There's too many rankings, but it is what it is.
So I'm gonna run through the top 10. At number 1, we got Tennessee. Number 2, we got Ohio State. Number 3, Georgia. 4, Clemson. 5, Michigan. 6, Alabama. TCU, Oregon, USC, and LSU rounding out the top 10. Is there any of those teams that you disagree with? What are your thoughts on that? Did they get it right?
Well, I think LSU is too high. It's a 2-loss team. and I know they beat Ole Miss last week or 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
But they're a 2-loss team. They lost to Florida State, and I'm drawing a blank on who else they lost to. But to me, a 2-loss team should not be in the top 10 this early in the rankings, especially when you have Ole Miss, albeit they did lose to LSU, right behind them, and UCLA at 7-1 and Ole Miss at 8-1. And then you look at this other 2-loss teams, Kansas State, Utah, and Penn State. Those teams should be right around there. And I think that's where LSU should be at. I think it's great that Alabama's sitting at 6. It's kind of showing less of the bias they have for Alabama. I do think Georgia should be ranked 2. The way I always see the rankings, no matter what, is if you won a national championship the year prior, you should be the top ranked team in the country coming in at least. And as the season goes on, then you can adjust your rankings. I do think that Georgia, being undefeated, being the defending national champions, in this highly touted SEC, they should be the second-ranked team over Ohio State, who, really hasn't played anybody to this point. They'll have Michigan, but that's just kind of how I feel there.
So go ahead, Tom.
Ohio State beat Penn State.
Yeah.
It's Penn State, man. Like, so here's my thing. Here's my thing with rankings. I said this about Alabama bias. There are teams that these voters just love. Notre Dame being one of them. And I know all three of you guys in here can agree with that. When you look at the rankings every year, Notre Dame is always in the top 5, top 8, and they look like crap, and they don't beat anybody every year. Like, they don't beat the teams they're supposed to beat when they're supposed to beat them. But yet every year they're still ranked high. And I know it's projected off of talent and everything else, but there's just too much bias in that. And Penn State's one of those teams, and Penn State is a notorious choke job. Like they were running up on Ohio State and then just blew it. James Franklin's a good coach, but he's not going to get you over that hump.
Yeah. So I went and checked. LSU did lose to Florida State, and then I think they're getting a little bit of love because the other team they lost to is Tennessee, who was ranked number 1.
But they got smoked by Tennessee. It was like 44-3. Now that I think about it,
it was 40-13.
And so I saw some gripes on Twitter, and I do agree with it. And it's like this every year. They talk about the eye test, right? And so when they put certain teams in certain places, they're like, well, you say it's the eye test, but this team got their asses beat by 35 points, and you have them 5th.
Yeah,
like it's still things like that. So,
okay. So I'm gonna ask you these two. I don't know if this is really going to be too much of a contest, but I'll let you answer. Number 10, LSU is going to battle number 6, Alabama. Do you see any way that LSU comes in and beats Bama?
Hell no.
I agree.
Now, this is where it's funny that you see LSU ranked 10th because they're playing Alabama next, right? And that helps Alabama find their way into the top 5, top 4 if they beat them. This is why the rankings, to me, can be skewed, and I like to watch how they play out throughout the year.
Yeah.
They moved Alabama to send a message, but LSU sitting there ranked 10th, and that's who they got coming up next.
So we got a conspiracy theory here.
So how do you think somehow what has to happen for Bama to get back into the top 4?
I mean, they win out and they get the SEC championship. Wait, I don't think they'll be able to if Tennessee, because they're in the same same division. I mean, they need Tennessee to lose to Georgia. I mean, that's a conference. It counts. I don't know how, but it counts. But they got to win out, and then that'll at least get them to 5. And then if one of those teams loses, you see Ohio State lose, you see Clemson lose, which is very possible. They're vulnerable this year. They got lucky against Syracuse. Syracuse they're playing teams that don't know how to close, but when they do, there's problems. Just went out, but I hope they're not in it. Because I think we're all getting tired of seeing Alabama in there.
Let's see somebody new. So we got the number 1 ranked Tennessee and number 3 ranked Georgia going up against each other, and I think I seen Georgia's like -8 against that's the line is -8. I could be wrong. Who do you got winning that game, Tennessee or Georgia?
So I do have Tennessee winning.
Georgia -9.
9.
Oh, the line moved, huh? Wow.
The number 1 team in the nation is
a 9-point favorite. So
That's how college works.
This is another piece that I wanted to share that's important to keep an eye on. Is this is why I think Tennessee would ultimately lose. But I do think they're going to win. But if they lose, I wouldn't be surprised. And it's because the spotlight is on them. They are the number one team in the country. They're not used to being there. They're going to play the defending national champions in their own house. I do think their offense is good enough to outscore Georgia. I mean, I'm looking at the stats right here. You see 49 points per game for Tennessee, and Georgia's going 41.8. I think, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I know Georgia's got a better defense, but I think that Josh Heupel is very creative with his offense. That I do think they'll win. I don't think they're going to win by 9. I don't think they'll cover. I think they're going to win probably by 4.
Okay.
I think that I would set the line at 4.
Gotcha.
But I think it's gonna be a really good game. I think Tennessee will, squeak it out. I mean, they kind of got that break against you that Alabama would normally get against Alabama. But I think Tennessee will win it.
So real quick, I just wanted to ask a question to Ellie. If Tennessee happens to lose to Georgia, or if Tennessee beats Georgia, let's say Tennessee beats Georgia, and then they have a letdown game, do you see them being in the top 4 still?
It depends on who they lose to.
I mean, what if it's a letdown game to just like an absolute bum team?
Then they'd be out of the top 5.
So do you think if Alabama and them are sitting at the same record, you think Bama gets in before them?
Yes. Because it'll be about yes, there's the head-to-head, but it's like they also evaluate when you lose and how you lose, right? So if they had a letdown, like I think if Tennessee loses a close one this weekend, they'll stay in the top 5. But if they get blown out by Georgia, they'll fall out. They'll fall to probably 6 or 7, depending on what the other teams in that area do. But if they have a letdown to some bum team, I don't think they're playing any more bums for the rest of the year. So, if it's a letdown, it'd have to be a very horrible letdown for them to be knocked out of the top 5. I think if they win this week, they solidify themselves as a top 5 team.
So I'm kind of learning about college football then, because you pointed something out. You said how LSU is ranked at number 10, and you didn't agree with it, but they're going up against Bama. Now you got the number 1 and the number 3 team facing off, and I can't help but think that the loser of that team is going to swap spots with Bama. Now Bama might not go to 1 or might not go to 3. Well, they're not going to go to 1. Whoever wins that game is going to be 1, but they could jump into the top 4 if either one of those teams lose and Bama is able to beat that number 10 ranked LSU team. They're going to jump into the top 4, and I'm picking up what you're putting down here, Ellie. I'm starting to learn a little bit.
It might not happen right away, Ryan, but it could happen in a couple of weeks where you see them just kind of climb. LSU is not a good team. I don't really. I mean, they got a good win against Ole Miss, but Ole Miss I don't think is that really that good of a team either. But there is, to me, there's SEC bias, so those teams are always going to get some love from the polls. LSU did beat Ole Miss, so they're like, we have to put them ahead of them. But I don't think LSU is a good team. I know I'm going back to Florida State, but that game was just ugly, so bad. And yeah, they did not look like a team at all.
Real quick, Ellie. Tennessee loses to Georgia. Alabama wins out. Tennessee wins out. They both have 1 loss. Who's playing for the SEC championship game, Alabama or Tennessee?
Be Tennessee because they're in the same division, and Tennessee won the head-to-head. The division doesn't go by rankings; it goes by the head-to-heads and what the division ranking in their conference is. If they both have 1 loss, Tennessee beat Alabama, so they're in.
I would love to get Ellie and Tom talking a full segment of college football, because I know Tom does watch some college football too. We're up against it here, Ellie, but I do want to give you a chance. So growing up, I was a Temple Owls fan, and that's because Temple's in Philly. And I went to a Temple Owls game. It was Temple versus Syracuse, and this guy, I forget who the player was, I don't even know, but he threw me his wristband, and from that I was always dedicated to Temple. It's the reason why I went to Temple, and but Temple was always my number 1 team, is what I'm trying to get at. But my number 2 team was the Miami Hurricanes, and the reason why they were my number 2 team was because I used to love playing NCAA games. I like their mascot, and I like their colors. So I always told everybody I was a Miami Hurricanes fan, and we seen the hat. We know that you're a Hurricanes fan. I want to give you, a quick, quick minute or two to what's going on with this with the Canes. What's the state of that team right now?
It's a complete regime change over there right now. Miami has not had the financial investment in their athletics programs, period, ever. In the last 20 years, it's been a struggle because of sanctions when they were getting popped for all those improper benefits back in the day. And then the culture of the kids and the teams in the locker room they were bringing in, the lack of staff, and again, financial investment. That's all changed in 1 year. They brought in Mario Cristobal, and Mario Cristobal came from Oregon, and he's a former Miami Hurricane, won some national championships when he was with the Hurricanes, and he was an assistant head coach underneath Nick Saban. He was his ace recruiter when he was there. He had a head coaching job at FIU, and had FIU had its most success under his leadership, despite their lack of resources. He was telling a story this season. They had guys at FIU that were switching helmets or exchanging helmets when they were to go on the field. So if they were on offense, they'd give their helmet to somebody who was on defense when it was their turn to go out in the field. Like, they didn't have anything.
Wow.
And he was doing a really good job recruiting kids to play at FIU. They had their first winning season in school history at that time. Left Alabama, went to Oregon, and put together some top recruiting classes there. But he brought the blueprint of being a successful program to Miami. And the only way he was going to do that is if there was the financial commitment, and he got the boosters to get behind it all. They got a $110 million facility coming in. They had they poached Clemson's AD away, who was a former alum from Miami, to come in. Grabbed Alonzo Highsmith to be their GM of Italian evaluation, who was in the NFL ranks and player personnel for years. And it's just a complete overhaul of the football program, and also the entire athletics department. So there's some changes, all those changes there alone, and then the team itself is dealing with some injuries. There's not enough talent. Mario's been saying saying the phrase talent acquisition a lot this year. He needs time to get his guys in. They're running some very in-depth schemes, and the players that are there, they're just not fit to run it. But you can't change that up because you can't recruit the guys you want to recruit if you're running something else. So sucks this year. We've had a really shitty season. It's not what I wanted. It's not what I was expecting. But seeing what they're doing in the recruiting trail, they currently have a top 8 recruiting class, and they're going after some big fish. They just got what I would consider the nation's best player in the class. He's rated behind Arch Manning. I don't think he's the best player in the class, but Cormani McLean's the number 1 defensive back in the country, and so they're landing some big dogs.
I hear that. Look, it is sad to see the Canes. They're such a great program for so long. It does suck to see them struggle a little bit, but we are looking to looking forward to see what they can do. You said they got a top 10 draft class, and maybe they put it together. They come back next year and they battle. Listen, like I had said, we're up against it. I want to thank. Go ahead.
Miami's at Temple next September.
Come on down, baby.
I'll be there.
We'll be there. We go with you. We'll do a live show in the parking lot with you guys.
All right, listen, I know you're cut for time. I got one question, and that's it.
Go.
Who wins the Heisman?
I like Hendon Hooker. He's the fan favorite right now. I'm on that boat.
So before the season started, Hendon Hooker opened up at a plus 6,600 odds to win the Heisman. He is now the favorite at plus 100 to win the Heisman. Topping A. Stroud, who was to open up the season, was plus 200, who is now plus 175.
Nice little stat.
Could you imagine if you would have just fucked around and put $100 on that dude winning the Heisman?
I believe that my guy Tyler Van Dyke, was going to be in the running, but that offense is not figuring things out, and he got hurt. He's probably like a plus 10,000 now.
Well, look, I do want to thank you again for coming on, bro. You are our first guest, and we are going to have to put the NBA talk on ice, but I'm glad that we were able to get some college football in. I know that's your mojo right there, and I want to thank you on behalf of the entire show coming on, dropping some insight, and I look forward to having you back on, whether it's maybe Sunday so we could talk, what happened on Saturday, if we get you back on next week to preview what's going on in the next weekend's game, and maybe talk about whenever we could get you back on, bro. I want to get you back on. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys having me, man.
All right, brother.
Love you guys.
Yep.
All right.
Fellas, it's been an hour and a half. It's been a beautiful first show. I'm gonna go to Tom first. Tom, you have any closing remarks for our viewers and our listeners?
Take Buffalo minus 11.5. Take them. Now them. Bet the mortgage. Don't come after me. Want somehow the Jets win?
Don't, because when Tom Flynn sets
Buffalo
a lock
minus 11.5.
It's funny because we're in another sports group. I'll give him a little shout out. Let's talk shit about sports until somebody is pissed off. Tom Flynn would always do the lock of the week, and it became a thing where people would fade Tom because his locks of the weeks would not be locked. They would be the exact opposite. And we are turning the tide here. The Tom Flynn lock of the week. We're going to keep track of it, and I do think that Buffalo is going to smash them. I believe Tom's looking at a 1-0. Derrick, great first show, my boy. You got any closing remarks?
Just my only closing remark is watch out for Maxey.
Maxey. Yeah, we didn't even get to talk Sixers. James Harden's out for a month.
We didn't. We'll talk about him, and we'll be talking a lot about my boy Maxey.
Yes.
Sixers up 21-83 right now, too, by the way.
Yes, they're playing. They're playing. And it's been such a we didn't even get to talk World Series, but we have I talked plenty about that in our last 3 shows.
We will talk World Series on Sunday when Bryce Harper is hoisting the trophy.
I like it. I do believe that with Wheeler and Suarez going Game 6 and a possible Game 7, I think the Phillies are still in line to go win. And with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, whether you tuned in live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, or if you're listening to this on any of your podcast streaming systems. I want to thank everybody that interacted with us. We're going to continue to get better. We're going to bring this show to you twice a week. Remember, our new schedule moving forward is Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and we love you guys. Peace out.